What is up, everybody? Coach B back here with another video. This one was a pain in the ass, so I hope you like it. So I did offensive stats earlier, and I originally said I wasn't going to do defensive stats just because they are pretty hard to actually predict and kind of go through. But I decided to go for it. Why not? Screw it. So I broke down all of them, all this crap. So I'm going to start off by giving a few team stats, and then I'll go through individuals. So I do predict us to have top defense, top three at least, if not the number one defense in the league. You know, last year we took a step back. We went from the number one 2018 to about 8, I think it was. And that was mainly due to injuries, but having everybody come back healthy and even better pass rush. And I actually like our secondary better as well. So I think Tayshaun Gibson's a better fit than HaHa, and I really like Jalen Johnson, especially with him fully healed from his shoulder stuff. He should be better than Prince Amukamara. Maybe not right away, but should still be pretty good. So first I kind of broke down, all right, well, how many tackles essentially are we looking at? And, around 1,000, a little bit less. I have us around 960 tackles or so. That's about average for the season. So yeah, so I started off there. Because you think, by the way, I'll start off by explaining how I got that. When you're doing, where is it? I don't know. I can't find where I wrote it down. Roughly you're having about 16, or, you got 16 games, probably about 60 tackles per game, give or take. Average offensive play, if you remember from that, is around 60 to 65. Take away a few of the throwaways. We'll just say about 60. So 6. Yeah, that's 960. So that's about where I had us at. All right, so going through, so the tackle is about 960, like I said. I actually had us having huge sack numbers at 55 sacks. So I believe in 2018, we had something around 50. It was like 45 to 50, somewhere around there. It was a lot. I think we were first in the league or top tier of sacks. I expect us to even take a bigger step. So last year, the leader, I think, was New England Patriots, I believe, with 48. And I actually think we have a better pass rush than them. Mac and Quinn should both have really good years. And from the outside, that's going to free up more room on the inside. So about 55 sacks. I have us about 28 interceptions. 24 forced fumbles, but probably about 15 of those realistically will be recovered. So that's around 43 takeaways. So a really good number for takeaways. And I actually have us about 5 defensive touchdowns. That's something that, the past few years, even 2017, we even had a couple when we were a really bad team. And then, last year, or in 2018, I think we had like 6 or something. We had a ridiculous number of defensive touchdowns. And last year, I believe we only had 2, maybe 3. We didn't have a whole lot. All right, so now I'll go through the stats. I start out with the big boy, Khalil Mack. Everyone wants him. So I have him at 75 tackles. So that's what he was averaging a few years ago. From around his first to second year up until he came to the Bears, he was at about 75. In the past few years with the Bears, he's had a few less tackles, but I expect that to kind of go back up a little bit again. So 75, 14 sacks. So I know a lot of people are talking maybe he'll break Richard Dett's record at 17, but I just don't really see him getting quite that high. But I still think he's going to have 14 sacks, so still a really good bounce back year. 6 forced fumbles, he always gets quite a few of those. And I have him actually getting one of the defensive touchdowns, whether it be off of one of his sacks or like strip sacks picking it up, or somebody else's and him bringing it up as well. But I have him as one of them. All right, so Quinn, also around 75 tackles. I think both of them are really just going to control the edge. Both are pretty good in the run stop as well, so there'll be a factor on both sides. So about 75 tackles, 11 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. So still a really good year from Quinn. If he gives us something like that, the next 3 to 5 years, he's got a 5-year contract, but 3 to 5 years, that definitely was a good signing. Akeem Hicks, and this is assuming everybody plays like all 16 games, stays healthy. So Akeem Hicks, 60 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's going to be a wrecking ball in the middle. last year he was hurt for most of the season. The year before, I think he had 7 sacks, one less, but still just a real wrecking ball there. And he'll have quite a few tackles for a loss. I didn't really do tackles for a loss because they're kind of, they're tied in with the tackles. But if I were to say tackles for a loss, he'd probably have close to 10 plus. He would have quite a few. All right, so Eddie Goldman, about 55 tackles, 2 sacks. He doesn't get too many sacks. He's really the run stopper there, but he's been getting better with pressure and, maybe 1 forced fumble. Nichols, about 50 to 55 tackles, 4 sacks, so he does have a little bit of a jump. Starts to kind of break out a little bit. You remember his rookie year, he kind of came out of nowhere. He was like a 6th round pick, I believe, 5th or 6th round pick. Really showed out. Then last year he was hurt. So this year, not a complete, breakout boom, like crazy year, but still pretty freaking solid, and a forced fumble for himself. Roy Robinson Harris, who's going to be that next main defensive line rotational guy. I do think Nichols is probably still going to start, but I think him and Roy Robinson Harris are going to be very close to like 50-50. He's going to be the big one coming in. He'll also give Akeem Hicks his breaks as well. So he's still going to get quite a few snaps per game. And so he'll have about 40 tackles, 4 sacks as well. He's really good at, rushing the passer, gotten better at it, and a forced fumble. The rookie Gibson, Trevis Gibson, only 25 tackles, 3 sacks, so pretty good as a rookie. But I just don't see him getting a crazy amount. I don't think he's going to get a lot of playing time. I think he'll be the main rotational piece on the outside, but it's not going to be in heavy pass situations, and it'll probably be later on in games and whatnot where teams are trying to get the ball out fast. So I don't think he'll have a lot of stat-wise, at least this year. So yeah, but he'll still do a little bit. He'll get a few sacks. Roquan Smith, huge year for him. 125 tackles, 5 sacks, 4 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, and a defensive touchdown. And I think his defensive touchdown is actually probably going to be off an interception, maybe like a tip ball or something. I didn't do tip passes or pass defenses or anything like that, but interception off a tip ball or an early break, and he's going to bring that one to the house. People forget how fast and athletic he is too. So, have him probably making a Pro Bowl. I mean, with stats like that, he should. So Pro Bowl year for him. Danny Trevathan has a really good year as well. Friday he stays healthy for all 16 games, which I really hope he does, because we don't have a lot of depth behind those two. 105 tackles, so he does break the 100. 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble. Then the safety Gibson, Tayshaun Gibson, 70 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, and a forced fumble. Really big year, and I personally think if he has a year like this, I think we'll actually extend him. And because he only signed the 1-year deal, I like the fit of him. I think he plays better at strong safety, but he also is a ball hawk as well, which is something that we like. So, we'll see what we do with him after this year. But if he plays like how I think he will, I think we should extend him as long as he doesn't want a huge contract. Fuller, a lot of people don't really realize Fuller kind of is a tackling machine. He racks up the tackles, and he's pretty sure thing as a tackler for a corner. So I have him at 80 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 1 touchdown as well. So his will either be like a pick 6 or a fumble recovery or something. So yeah, pretty good year for him. Probably return to the Pro Bowl as well in that case. Jalen Johnson, the rookie, who, if you remember some of my other videos, I do expect him to start, but maybe not the first couple games. So I put him as the stat for the second corner. I didn't do, I didn't put in really stats for Kevin Tolliver, who I think will get the start at the beginning of the season, maybe the first game or two, depending on how the preseason and training camp and whatnot goes. But so Jalen Johnson has a pretty good rookie year at about 60 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 1 sack. He's actually pretty good down by the line, rather physical as well. So I could see us, sending him on a corner blitz or something. So he'll have a pretty good year. I mean, 3 interceptions as a rookie is nice. Eddie Jackson has a really big year as well. So he has about 65 tackles, 6 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. So he definitely has his all-pro type year again, goes back to the 2018 type. I mean, being back at free and with a better pass rush, he should take off again. He's, one of the best free safeties in the league, especially at scouting the ball and whatnot. So I expect him to have a massive year. And yeah, so he should definitely do really well. Then I had other as a stat. This can involve guys like, Kevin Tolliver, who will still get some playing time. Our other, nickel corners, Duke Shelley and the other rookie we brought in, forget his name right now, Vildor, depending on which one of them, a few of the other, defensive lineman type guys as well. So I have about 50 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 3 forced fumbles. Just kind of split, like Shaq McManus is going to be in there. Those kind of guys, they'll get something. They always tend to make a few stats as well, so they'll kind of round out that last bit. So yeah, that's kind of my defensive stats, both team and player. And like I said, I do expect us to kind of raise back up to be, top 3 at minimum on defense, if not, the number 1 team. So expect the Bears to have a pretty big year this coming up year, especially on defense. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Let me know what you think.